Hello, everyone. Welcome you on our presentation. This will be about the memoQ 9.10. My colleagues will talk you through about all the features we will include in this version. But before we start with that, let me do some housekeeping for the beginning. So the webinar will be recorded and it will be sent to all of you. Even those who are not attending this webinar but registered here. There will be about a 30-minute presentation about the new features and then a 10-15-minute Q&A session where if you have any question, please use the Q&A section on the bottom of the Zoom panel and post your questions there. If there will be any question in the chat, I will try to keep it up with them and include them as well, but please use the Q&A session to be sure that your question will be answered. Veve, Zsolt, I hope you are both here. Let me pass on the mic to you here.
Yep. So hello. As for our program today, first I'll talk a little bit about our business analytics, a new feature, or maybe I like to call it a module, and then Zsolt will take over and present to you the features that we picked from your ideas that were introduced, or I should say are going to be introduced with this release because it's not out yet. I'm sorry about that. We found some wrinkles that we would like to iron out before the release comes, but it's going to be out very soon. And then some machine translation improvements still from Zsolt. So as for the person who asked where they can download it, you can't yet. Soon, I hope, soon TM. So business analytics, part 1. This is the first installment of the business analytics module that we are releasing now. Okay, what is it? What is business analytics? It is a tool that can help you answer questions like, how much do we translate each month? Which is our most profitable language pair? How much are we saving? Some things about how your translators work. How did the orders change, etc. Now, how can we answer these types of questions? Our experience is that there are 2 ways to answer them. Sometimes you need just a very, very quick overview without a lot of details that you can just glance at and then see what's going on. And for this, you most often need a chart, or you most often prefer a chart. Also, when you have to include something in your presentation. But often, and I myself find it more often than not, you actually need the raw data because you want to dive down, and charts offered by these project management type systems are often not detailed enough. And also, each company has their own quirks. For example, if I ask the very simple question like, what is our daily throughput? Then instantly a bunch of questions arise, like, what is a day? Which time zone? How do we calculate weekends? Do we care about when people start to work, or when they deliver, or when we start a project, or when we deliver a project? So what is the definition of the time of a translation? And also, how do we measure the volume of translation? Characters, words, weighted, not weighted. Do we use a special weighting matrix for each of our clients or topics or tasks. And our interviews showed that there is a huge variation in how people answer these questions. So a lot of the times, what people could really use is just the raw data. And seeing that we can already give you the raw data while we keep working on the charts, this is why we are releasing just the raw data right now. So at the moment, Business Analytics Part 1 is access to the raw data. The other type, the charts, the lines, the pie charts, they are coming. They are being done as we speak, but we were convinced that that even this data is going to be useful for a lot of you. The data junkies, the Excel champions, the Power BI managers, and people like them. So what is it actually? It is a huge comma-separated values file. It is a huge CSV file, which is, it's pretty much a table that each and every software that people use nowadays can understand. So this is why we chose this format. It is cross-platform. So it's just very useful. You can set it for a time period, which time period you want your report to be about. And in this file, you can really imagine it like a table. So each row represents a document. Remember, if you import a file into memoQ and you are going to translate it to 3 languages, then it's 3 documents. And to correct myself, it is not actually each row is a document, but each major version is a separate row. So if you re-import your document, then it will be represented in a new row in the document, in the report, in the CSV report. So for people who re-import their documents whenever there is a new, I don't know, software release, those will be separated. And in the columns, we have the data. There are, I just checked, I think 130 columns, so a lot of data. What type of data do we have right now? For each and every document or version, we have numbers, words, and character counts. The whole statistics is there. So you can do your own calculations as well. The weighted word count is also there, but if you are doing something, if you are using something more special or different, then you can make your own calculations in whatever software you desire. It contains some timestamps, especially deadlines and deliveries, but a couple of others too. It contains information on users, so who was the translator, reviewer, who imported the file, etc. And it also contains the the obvious information like languages, path, filter, project name, domain metadata, stuff like that. So it is a big CSV file that you can download and import into whatever data analytics software you like to use. Yes, so it is to be found on memoQ web. And before I show you, let me notify you that there is a bit of setting up needed. It's a separate service, and some setting is needed for that. So please warn whoever the person is who is upgrading your memoQ server. If you would like to see business analytics, then they will need to do a bit more setup than usual. So it's not just clicking next a bunch of times. And I strongly suggest taking a look at the help beforehand. It is really not complex. So it is like 3 things to fill. But I know that people don't like to be surprised with the setting that they didn't know that was to be. Yeah, and actually, I am sorry. I didn't say at the beginning, and Dave is asking very logically, business analytics is only on memoQ server. I'm sorry, I should have started with that. So it is not even in the PM version, it is on memoQ server only. Okay, so in memoQ web, there is in the left menu, if you turn on business analytics, then there is a new item in the left-hand menu, analytics. And this is where, when you already have a couple of reports, then you see the list of them. You can download them from here. You can download them later too. And you can create a new one. This is really a very, very basic setup because all the data is there anyway. Everybody was on the opinion that we asked that they'd much prefer filtering out the data in the analytics tool that they use anyway. I mean, in Excel, Power BI, Tableau, whatever they use. They are used to it. They are very comfortable with filtering data there. So we decided we wouldn't introduce a filtering interface here that would be anyway not as good as that of the software that is, well, actually made for data analysis. Okay, so this is where you create a new report, and pretty much the only thing that you should tell is what time span you would like to have your report about. In the top section, you can change the name, but there is a default name given anyway, which is based on the date, and you can enter some description here if you want to. But this is the only very important thing to set up. And obviously, the size of the file will depend on what you choose here. And after you created this report here, then it will appear on this list. And you can download it right away, right when it's created. It will sometimes take a bit of time, but not like hours, it's minutes. Or you can download it anytime later on too. So it can be set up it can be created manually in memoQ web. There are a couple of certain central settings in the admin area of memoQ web. You can check those out. I'm not going to talk a lot about them. It's like it's things like how do you define the date of the document or the date of a project, whether it is when it started or when it ended, those kind of settings. But it is still accessible later on the page that I just showed you. And there is another way of accessing this report. You can use its special reporting API for it too. If you use the API, you can customize the settings per each report, and you can obviously automate its download. So you can set up a little API tool that will download the report, say, every Sunday night, and it can be automatically plugged into whatever system you are using to analyze your data. So this is it. As I said, charts are coming, and we are also looking into adding more data. to business analytics. These topics were by far the most popular among our users. So this is what we started with, and I'm really excited to see whether you are going to like it. Let me pass the mic to Zsolt.
Thank you, Veronica. So hi everyone, my name is Zsolt, and first I'd like to talk to you about some ideas that came from you, users. As you are aware, we have an idea portal, and we carefully read and process and evaluate the ideas that come up, and we are committed to processing a certain number of ideas, and the ones that we find worthy and the community is asking for it in great numbers for the most part and adds value to our customers, then we might as well implement them. And so let's see what we have in memoQ 9.10. So here we go, LiveDocs corpus import. It was one of the top freelancer ideas with the highest number of votes on our idea portal. And basically it was all about one of the shortcomings of memoQ, that is, you were able to export a LiveDocs corpus, but in order to import into another corpus or on a different machine some of the corpus documents, you would actually have to unzip the file and then individually import the memoQxlz files from there. So what we did was we changed the behavior. So if you click import on the LiveDocs page of the resource console, you now have a new open dialog. And as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, now you can select even zip files, not just one, but actually multiple zip files if you wish. You cannot select a single file plus a zip file, so either one or the other. So if you select, for instance, the len zip file, you will see a new dialog. It says import corpus. And this is a familiar interface, basically using the very same things that we can see on the resource console. So you can see the name, the source language, target language, and keywords of the documents, obviously the types that are represented there. And you have a selection column. By default, all the files inside the LiveDocs export file, that is the zip file, are selected, but it's up to you to decide which ones to select. If you actually imported multiple zip files, then you will see all the documents in the list, and you can decide on your own which ones to import. So once you pick the ones that you want to import, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, import 3 files, as we selected 3, and the next screen will show that in addition to the bottom file, that hungary.jpg, now we have the 3 corpus documents added to the demo LiveDocs corpus. So like I said, this is something that you asked for in great numbers. So we hope that many of you will make good use of it. So just go and enjoy. Another thing that you guys asked for was being able to sort terms inside a TB entry. It was, once again, a very popular idea. And the pain point, just to describe for those who have not met this, was that sometimes you create term-based entries by adding terms that may not be the your most favored or most popular terms that you want to use or primary term you want to use. For instance, in Hungarian, the word szerződés may have a number of English equivalents. And unfortunately, I started out by adding covenant first, and then treaty, and then so on. And contract, which is the most common, came only as number 4. So as I was translating this document, I really had a hard time to find the proper term. So I tried, and you guys also tried to solve this issue. The pain point was, however, that up until 9.10, this is the interface that you were using, and the only thing you could do to change the order of the terms inside an entry was to delete the ones on top until the one that you wanted to display as number one would end up on top. So for instance, in this case, I would have had to delete covenant, treaty, and agreement so that contract would be displayed on top. So this is what we found as the solution for this problem. We added two little arrows, and these arrows, obviously depending on the selected term and the position of the term, sometimes just one is available, sometimes both. You can just select or highlight the term that you want to move, and then you use the arrow either on the source side or on the target side. Obviously, if you just have a single term within an entry, like here under Hungarian, we just have a single term, then these arrows are inactive because you cannot move it higher or lower. So as you can see, I was able to use these arrows, and without having to delete a number of terms, I was able to move contract to position number one and agreement to the second position. So let's see how it looks like on the grid. So this is how the behavior, or actually the display changes. As you can see under English, now I have in the first position contract, and I have agreement in the second position, and the rest of them are further down. So that pretty much solved my problem, and hopefully it will solve yours as well. This interface that you see, or that you saw here on the previous screen, it's actually on the edit term-based entry, but it's the very same thing that you will use when creating a term-based entry. And basically the same thing when you open your term-based editor. The controls are the same in the lower section of the screen. So this enables you to save considerable amount of time, both while translating, so you don't have to look for your primary term, and also when editing your term base. So just another thing to make your life easier and help usability in memoQ. The next topic I want to talk to you about is machine translation. And actually, here we also be talking about ideas that came from you. DeepL has recently updated their services, and their API support now includes formality and glossary. So because a lot of our users asked for it, and we were also aware of this development, we jumped on it, and this is what we did. In contrast with the very simple, a single API key UI or dialog in the previous versions, now the DeepL MT plugin has a quite sophisticated setting screen. You can still use the very same authentication key that you had previously. We also had added the formatting and inline text checkbox, but what's more important is formality. Formality is supported in 8 main languages. I save you. So if you click here on the read more within the plugin, you will see this page coming up, and you just need to look for formality. And as you can see currently, the website says that it supports 8 languages, 2 variants of Portuguese actually. And for all these languages, or these languages only, you have 3 options when translating into these target languages. You have the default, which is the same as you had before, but you can have a more formal language, or you can have a less formal language. So go ahead and play around with that, and find which one is best suited for your specific translation project. In addition to formality, glossary support is another thing that we added. It's really just a a brand new development by DeepL. The glossary support is available in 4 languages. So if you click import, the import command, you will see the 4 languages currently available. German, English, Spanish, and French. And you actually have 6 language pairs that you can create. So it's not that you can use all 4 languages into all the other languages as target languages. So altogether 4 languages supported with 6 language pairs. One thing that we would like to warn you, and this is also something that DeepL published on its website, is that you can create glossaries on DeepL's online interface, but that's completely different in DeepL system than creating something through the API, which we use here. For this reason, if you have already created a glossary on DeepL's website, then you will not see it here. And the other way around, if you create one in the MT plugin, those will not show up on the DeepL web interface. So in those cases, if you want to use your existing glossary, you need to redo it. But we give you all the support that you need. So once again, if you click the import button to create a new glossary, you just need to select the file, which is currently a TSV file. That's what's being supported by DeepL. If you click the Get Help with the Formats link, then you will be directed to the DeepL website that talks about how to format your TSV file. These are tab-separated values, and you can just simply use Notepad or some other tool to use this, or even Excel if you wish, and just save it as TSV. One other constraint that you need to keep in mind is that we allow you to select multiple glossaries on the UI, on the plugin UI, because at this point, when you configure your MT plugin settings, you don't yet know which project you will be using this plugin in. So you have the option to select various glossaries. However, we allow you to select only a single glossary in a given language pair. This is to prevent confusion by when actually translating using these glossaries. So for instance, if you use this MT plugin setting in an English to German project, then DeepL would know that which glossary to use. If we allowed to select multiple glossaries, obviously that would just create a lot of confusion on the DeepL side, because multiple glossaries would have to be taken into account, and we could have had like overlappings, the very same terms. So for simplicity reasons, we decided to allow a single glossary to be selected per language pair. So here you go. Some of the major languages are supported, so go ahead and go knee deep into DeepL as well, and then try out how they improved their MT models and their services. Another MT plugin, which is actually new, not an update, is eTranslation. It was also requested by freelancers, and up until now, it was only available on an online interface. So we went and talked to them, to the European Union, actually. It's the European Commission's project. And we talked to them, and they told us that the service is not yet available to CAT tool providers via the API. So the only thing that we could do was to emulate the use of the website through our MT plugin. And this will come with some known issues and some limitations that I'll talk to you about in a bit. But the key thing is that you no longer need to use the website and then copy and paste text from memoQ to the website and back, but you can use it from from within memoQ. But first, in order to do that, those who are new, you first need a valid EU login. And so you go to the EU login page, you create an account. There are certain categories that you need to comply with. Typically, if you're a freelance translator, you can just easily say yes to all the questions and create a new account. Once you have that account running, then you can open up you can create a new empty setting or use an existing one, and you will see in memoQ 9.10 the eTranslation empty plugin. Once you open the configuration page, you will see username and password requested. This is the very same EU login that you used on the previous page. So you type that in, and then you click login. And as the note says, if it's the first time that you use it after memoQ is launched, it might take some time, but once it's configured, then you open it up again. It will not take that long to load. So we need some patience because there are a lot of things happening in the background. We are actually basically emulating website usage. On the empty plugin, you can see that eTranslation supports certain domains. By default, it uses the EU formal language, but after you logged in, you can change the domain to use. So depending on the type of text that you're working with, you might want to select a different domain. Please be aware that not all the domains support all the EU languages, official languages. So please consult eTranslation's website and check out which one of the domains are supported in which languages. As I said before, we have some known issues that I want you to be aware of. One is that the one that I already talked to you about, the initial login takes some time. It may take up to a minute. It didn't take me that long, but sometimes it may do. You also need to have Google Chrome installed on the computer that you have memoQ installed on. You don't need to use Chrome as your primary browser, but you must have Chrome installed because the Chromium module is being used by memoQ in the background to emulate the website usage. We also have some stability and performance issues that we experience, but that has to do with the online interface. So for this reason, if for some reason you cannot log in or the service seems to be down, we always recommend, and we actually pop up a warning or a message in the dialog for you to go and check the website, the eTranslation website, to see if it's actually working or not. So this is definitely not something that all translators would be using, but a sizable number actually who voted on this idea on the idea portal will probably love this, and we'll save a ton of time for them. So this is basically it. That's about what we wanted to talk to you about as far as new features. And before we move on to the Q&A session, I have some really good news to share with you. Surprise, surprise. We are planning on an actual physical offline memoQfest with all the fun that we always had in the past. So mark your calendars, June 22nd to 24th in Budapest, Hungary. And those of you who are interested to present, please submit your papers by February 18. All the info that you need is available at www.memoqfest.com. So with that, I'll just move on to the Q&A session, and let's see what we have in the Q&A module and try and answer.
Yeah, we have like a million questions. So let me start. Okay, Zsolt, I marked, well, obviously in the beginning, there are the ones about business analytics, and there are loads for you too. So I will try to be quick. Thank you for the questions. They are very, very relevant. I'm trying to answer them in one batch and not one by one. So regarding the API, it is a separate API, not WS API, and I'm almost certain it's RESTful, but it is definitely a separate one. Regarding the old project and history, so the logic is the following: if you archive a project, then all the data will remain in the business analytics database. It has a separate database. I mean, we built a separate database for this. So, so archived projects remain there. Deleted projects, the data of deleted projects is deleted. I mean, if you delete the project through the recycle bin. Yeah, so that's the logic. Regarding removing documents from projects, there is a setting for that, how you would like it to be handled. So that's one thing. So this is not, I mean, obviously you want to keep your memoQ server relatively clean from old projects, whereas this data is needed in your reporting. As for the projects that are there when you install or turn on business analytics, memoQ can read the projects that exist at that point from all the versions, but it will obviously take time. So honestly, what I would suggest you to do, or I don't know, you will know, and I can't really tell. I really can't tell how much time it will take to read all your old projects, because it depends on like a million things, both on the number of projects and files and everything, and also on your hardware. So I can't tell you. Maybe I would suggest you first read only the last month, and then you can extrapolate how much time it would take to read everything else. And obviously, I think I mean, I'm not sure if it's obvious, but if you really want to have projects that you already archived, then you can restore them, and then they will be included in the business analytics database, and then you can archive them again. Also, if you mistakenly deleted a project through the recycle bin, then as long as it is there, you can restore it, and then it will be restored into the business analytics database too. Yeah, I think this was all. Yeah, I think this is it, and I will pass the mic to Zsolt and read through the questions again and see if I missed anything.
Okay, let's see. What about real top 2 freelancer ideas, dark mode, and being able to open 2 projects at the same time? The dark mode has already been evaluated previously, and it's probably a recurring issue now. So I'm going to respond to that. They investigated that with developers, and basically the response was that to create a dark mode on memoQ client on the desktop version, it would take at least months of development, which would mean that we would not be able to focus on other things. And also our UX department advised against this, but on WebTrans in the future, we plan to implement dark mode because it's much easier for web versions. As far as the opening 2 projects at the same time, I'm pretty sure that there are limitations, but we'll look into that with the dev team. How do we get authentication key for DeepL? It's something you need to check out on DeepL's website. There are various options you can choose. I guess there's some free version available and DeepL Pro. I think professional translators typically say on Facebook that DeepL Pro is the best choice for them. So go to deepl.com and then check out their services. What empty engines could be integrated with memoQ? Basically, we have an empty SDK that you can just look for at memoQ.com, and the empty SDK describes, how to integrate your own empty engines or your own plugins with memoQ, so you can have your own private empty plugins. But those that are inside memoQ, those that are built in, or we call them public plugins, those actually undergo really thorough scrutiny, and we need to make sure that we have the business case to integrate them into memoQ, or we have a lot of customers asking for them, or simply because something big is happening there, just like DeepL, supporting glossary feature. So I would advise you to check out our empty SDK document, or actually we have a package with even with a demo empty plugin that you can use to develop your own empty plugin. I heard memoQ recently stopped supporting Dragon naturally. It was never actually officially supported. We contacted Dragon several times over the years, and it just seems that they have never responded. So after a while, we kind of gave up, and we even have our own Hey memoQ projects, obviously, because memoQ offers its own dictation software or module. We support that, but if you look for answers in various Facebook groups, there are known issues there, and there are known workarounds to make DNS work with memoQ, but it's not officially supported. So we can't really fix the issue to give you a short answer. Is the button tidy up view new? I guess the question is about term-based tidy up. No, that has been around for a while. Did you explain that we either use the DeepL glossary or our own term-based, but we cannot select both? Well, you can actually use both. It's just, DeepL, the empty plugin, has this glossary feature, which means that if you don't use a glossary within the empty plugin, then you will get a translation from DeepL where, for instance, I don't know, you have a company name like Windows, and in a silly case, a stupid translation engine might actually translate it into the target language, the word Windows, because it does have a meaning. But if you have a glossary uploaded in the DeepL MT plugin, where it says, for instance, Windows equals Windows, then the translation that comes back from the MT service provider will take into account your glossary and will provide you with a translation that uses the glossary terms. So that's one thing. The response that you get back from the MT provider will be different if you use a glossary. Using your own term base, you could actually use your own term base with DeepL. You just need to convert it into the proper TSV format that we talked about. And alternatively, you can still use it in memoQ, obviously, because empty translations show up under the translation results in a separate row typically below TM, LiveDocs, and TB results. So I hope that answers your question. What about sorting those TB entries that come from a QTerm term base? Is there any chance of sorting these directly in memoQ? No, Jeremy already has that. This feature is only for memoQ term bases. QTerm is different, but once we have the QTerm revamp in a couple of years, I'm pretty sure that we'll take that into account. So I definitely urge you to submit it as a feature request on our IDEA portal. Can we search Control K in across all projects at once? Honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe someone can answer that. Never tried it. I don't think so. The concordance works across projects. I know that Control F works. Christina Bruckner, when will QTerm be revamped with such new features migrated to the modern memoQ web interface? We actually add new features to QTerm from time to time, and we are going to add probably 1 or 2 more in the upcoming releases. I can't really talk to you about those because those are still in research phase. So we are actually expanding the functionality of QTerm, but the revamp is further down the road. I would say in about, probably 2 years would be a safe bet. So until then, we only expand QTerm with certain features that answer pain points that have been voiced by a large number of users. So once again, the idea portal is a good place to vote or submit new ideas if those have not yet been submitted. DeepL custom TB, custom TB English to Italian. No, it's I guess the question is about glossary. You know, the supported languages are all communicated by DeepL on their website, so it's nothing that we can control. It's memoQ actually for every single time DeepL is used or any machine translation plugin, we actually query those empty services for the supported languages. And that's when you see unsupported languages messages whenever memoQ is informed by the empty service provider that the source target language combination is not supported by that specific empty provider. So I would be surprised actually if DeepL didn't support English to Italian, because it already supports English to Hungarian and some other languages. As far as I can see, that's about it. So we only have the Control K across all projects.
Yeah, but Control K, is it concordance? But it searches in TMs, not in projects.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I was uncertain about that too, but this kind of like her sounds, yeah.
I can only go and check it, but I would be surprised if it worked across all projects. Yeah.
Okay, so Zsolt, are you the one sharing? Because then can you just go back to the memoQfest page? Yeah. Yes. Yes, this is the best news best piece of news the whole week. So I really hope we see as many of you in Budapest as possible. And we are going to have another webinar before that, for sure. So we hope to see you there too. And thank you very much for the lively discussion. I'm really enjoying that you are chatting to each other. Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys. And those of you who are new or who will be new to memoQfest, go to, I don't know, even YouTube and then check out memoQfest. There are just some hilarious videos, and it's going to be a hell of a party and a very neat professional event, probably the best in the region. So I urge everyone to attend. See you guys and have a great day.